Hello and welcome everyone. If you're new here, I'm Mark. I've been uploading ownership and track videos to YouTube for over 18 years now, and my content on those cars has mostly been all about the drive. I still own the Cayman. It sees track work out there and a bit of competition, and until just before Christmas, my daily EV of choice was a leased BMW i3S. I was really sad to see that little thing go. It was so far ahead of its time, but it's been replaced with this, just as innovative. I took delivery of it 24 days ago and I've got it on a 3-year, 36,000 mile lease. Now it's late December, it's just gone 9 AM, it's absolutely freezing here, so we're going to have a quick walk around, then we'll jump in and I'll go for a blast and share with you some thoughts that I've gathered in the last 3 weeks. So we have a hatchback, and I'll call it a hatchback. It's not an SUV, it might be big, but those proportions, that's a hatchback. There's nothing SUV about it. It weighs 2.235 tons because I have the sunroof option, which you can see there, and I went for the free paint, the Soltronic Orange, which no one seems to go for, which I don't understand because it's a wonderful colour, really bright, metallic, and I think it's the only unique colour that you can get this car in. Has a lot of grip, 275, 35, 21 tyres all round, really big footprint on the road. And the brakes, yes, they're 400mm, but they hardly ever do anything because this car has an 800 volt architecture. It can generate so much braking power from regeneration only, up to 0.6 G. I just love the way it looks. Absolutely adore it. The only bit that doesn't really work for me is the rear diffuser, the way it juts out so much. I think they could have dialed that back a bit. And at the front we have active aero at the bottom. There's all sorts of active aero, you know, air curtains going down the side of the car and so on. And we've got the pixelated lights. I've done 1100 miles so far. It's a good thing. Drives really well, very practical. Let's jump in. Right, let's get it started. Let's get it warmed up in here. Now I've been doing something today that I haven't done before, and that is I'm preheating the battery, trying to get it up to 30 to 40 degrees Celsius for the drag mode. I've done a few launches, a few 0 to 60s, you can time it on the car, but you don't get full power from this thing unless everything's up to temperature, unless it's nice and warm. So I've not really felt what this has to offer yet, not in its fullest form anyway, and we're a bit traction limited because the road conditions are not the best at the moment. So let's head out, go and find some nicer roads and stretch its legs a bit. I'm just driving it in normal mode at the moment. Let's get the heated seats on actually, because I'm absolutely freezing. And the steering wheel, there we go. Put it in N mode, or N mode on the screen. I'm still in normal. But how I drive it most of the time is I go into my custom settings and go into the manual gearbox mode. Starting to warm up now. Let's also get it back into drag mode. Battery's at 26. It says we need 30 to 40 degrees and it's going to take 30 minutes. So yeah, I've driven it mostly in this manual mode. I don't know why you wouldn't. It gives a level of involvement and engagement that you just don't get with normal EVs. Having said that, I do kind of drive it as if it is an EV with adjustable regen on the pedals, because if you want to slow down and you've got adjustable regen, you tend to pull the left pedal and you slow down. It gives you more deceleration, more regeneration, which is exactly what happens in the manual. So I pulled down 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd. I'm now slowing down a bit. Not enough, gaining on the car ahead. If I go into 1st, still too fast, there we go. Now I slow down quite a lot. So I drive it in manual mode a lot of the time, but I try and avoid using the brake pedal. It's a bit academic really, because the brake pedal just activates the regen. So you get the same result whether you just shift down the gears or whether you press the brake pedal. I'll take that off now, starting to warm up a bit. Right, we'll just turn around here, going to head back that way. Something I do miss about the i3, this has a terrible turning circle. Yes, thank you, I can see. Right, here we go. The range and economy, I'm sure a few people want to know what I found with that. This morning, because I'm preheating the battery, battery's up to 26 degrees at the moment, so it's not quite there. But I have done, since I took it off charge at home this morning, where are we? I've done 16 miles and I've averaged 1.3 miles per kilowatt hour. That's terrible economy. This, if it were a petrol car, I think is in the maybe the low teens MPG wise, and even worse than that if you charge it publicly on the fast chargers and you're paying 70 or 80 pence per kilowatt hour. But then you don't really buy one of these things for it being an economic EV, because it's so far removed from that. Let's talk about the cabin. It's pretty good, I like it. It's comfortable, the seats are good. Bolsters could be a bit tighter for me, but my build isn't exactly huge. Steering feels all right, it's accurate. It's a bit slower than I thought it would be. Yeah, no, it's too foggy. Too foggy. The noises this thing makes, it's hilarious. Let's talk about the noise. So I've got it in the ignition mode. There's a jet thing where you get sonic booms, and then there's some futuristic Hyundai EV that you can also replicate. I leave it in the ignition all the time. Does it sound fake? Yes, it does. Of course it does. It is very Gran Turismo. But it does exactly what you would expect the sound to do. It matches your throttle position, the load, the speed, the gear perfectly. So if I am accelerating over a bumpy road and you get some wheel slip and the revs flare a bit, of course there are no revs, but in a combustion engine car the revs would flare and you'd hear the engine, the revs increasing as it breaks traction. It does all of that, and it does it so well. There's been more than a couple of videos where people have likened it to the Matrix, in that would you rather just allow the fact that you know it's fake and be lied to? And you know what, I'm perfectly happy that that Hyundai are tricking my brain into thinking I'm driving a combustion engine car. Genuinely, it feels like I no longer have an EV to drive. I have a DSG combustion car. It's a little bit fake. But what car doesn't have fake sound coming through the speakers nowadays anyway? Who doesn't like coming down gears like that? It's a big car, and its footprint is not far off a full-size, full-grown Range Rover, certainly X5 sized. So it's taken me a while. I've never had a car this big. I've never had a car with a wheelbase this long. And a couple of times I've been coming around, tight corners, and I've had to, at the last minute, take some lock off because I've realised I'm going to catch the back wheel. That's something that takes a bit of getting used to. Right, let's go down. Okay, we're clear. effortless, effortless. And yes, driving it in the gear mode is not as quick as if you're driving it in the EV mode, because you don't get all of the torque and all of the power all of the time. And I'll talk a whole load more about that, because there's this fascinating little graphic down here that shows the torque that's going to each of the wheels when you're braking, when you're asking for power, what it's doing as you bring the throttle in as you're coming out of corners. You get to see it all. So I'm going to stick a camera up here, film that at some point, so I can really understand, or I want to understand, how this thing does what it does. Launch control, 31-degree battery. .3.18 seconds. Yeah, this thing goes. And yet you can do this with it. So it's got the EV benefit of that sort of speed, and yet I can... Feels just like my Focus RS, having a play on these roundabouts. It's got... I've not played around with the torque distribution, and I know you can move the power forwards or back, but as it is, it pushes from the back and it rotates the car a little bit. Not a huge amount, but enough for you to feel that there's something going on. I mean, I'm not going to go mad here, but... obscenely quick. Let's finish off with a bit of motorway. So, that's some random thoughts. I've got so much to discover with this car. There's so many things I haven't done, so many modes. I'm really going to enjoy it. What I'm most curious to see though is if this gear changing thing, the novelty of it, if it has staying power, am I going to get bored of it? Will I end up going like this, default EV mode, zero noise? Oh, I could have noise. I think the noise, if you have the noise in EV mode, is ridiculous. I mean, yeah, it's quick, like ridiculously quick, ridiculously quick, but the noise, yeah, that's no good. Am I going to keep driving it in this fake gear shift mode? The chassis, I haven't even talked about that, about what Hyundai did to the chassis on this car. That's enough to warrant this thing being held in very high regard alone, just on the chassis. But the fact that they've combined that with this level of interaction that you don't get on any other EV at all really makes this, at the moment anyway, a bit of a standout car, and something that I don't feel I'm going to tire of, but time will tell. I've got 3 years and 36,000 miles in this, so if you're considering one of these as a future purchase, do make sure you subscribe. Thank you very, very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.